College grads now make up record share of unemployed workers after brutal surge in layoffs. And you know they're going to blame this on AI. And some of it might be because of AI, but not all of it. A lot of these companies were already blacklisting certain colleges. They were looking for reasons to get rid of some of these employees and not hire anymore because they've been burned. If a company, if they often show up to a specific college's career fair and then suddenly they stop showing up, it's probably because they blacklisted that school, because they hired like 10, 20 people and they were all shit. And they might cause trouble if they announce that they're blacklisting someone. So they just do it without saying they're doing it, which that, by the way, that's the smart thing to do. If you're going to do something that has questionable legality, don't fucking tell everyone you're doing it so you could maintain some plausible deniability. But there are ways you can tell. College graduates are slowly losing their employment advantage. Yeah, because employers are finally waking the fuck up. Employers are finally starting to realize that, maybe we'd be better off with just a high school grad, because at least he hasn't been indoctrinated yet. Last week's data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows unemployment for workers with a bachelor's degree increased to 2.8% in September, up 0.5 point from last year. Now, 1 in 4 unemployed Americans has a degree, a threshold the U.S. hadn't touched in data going back to 1992. Dang, that's longer than some of you've been alive. Other indoctrination levels didn't seem to increase in last month's data. The clear sign yet that the white-collar job market has downshifted amid a surge of layoffs at corporate headquarters and tech firms. That's true. Yeah, what's going away are a lot of the charity jobs. All of the busy work jobs that were just created to give lamins and other and minorities so they could just check boxes and meet quotas. Companies could afford to do that when they had lots of spare free money, but now they don't anymore. Now they got to get rid of everyone who's useless, and they're only keeping those that make them money. So all of these cushy charity jobs are going away. And to many recent grads, it's a gutting reality check. Shiny tech roles at billion-dollar companies once sold as tickets to six-figure paychecks are becoming harder to get. It's quite the interesting switcheroo that's happening, yeah. Yeah, it went from if you're over 30, good luck getting hired because you're too old for these industries. Now it's the opposite. Now if you're under 30, well, good luck finding a job that requires you to have 20 years experience for the entry-level position. And more than 1.9 million degree-holding Americans aged 25 and older received an unemployment check in September. Recent grads aren't finding success on the market either, with new unemployment rate bouncing to 4.8% in the Federal Bank of New York's latest reading. For the new graduates from college, they did get hit by a bit of a perfect storm, John Williams, the bank's president, said, according to Bloomberg. Yeah, it's a lot of things, man. A lot of shit all at once. But it definitely doesn't help that most of the shit is just giving these guys an excuse to get rid of people they've wanted gone for ages, but weren't able to without causing massive blowback. Normally, college graduates are swept into the labor market as they get out of college. That has not happened as much this year. Maybe companies got burned one too many times. Unemployed college grads are adding to America's spiking jobless rate, which ticked up from 4.3 to 4.4%. Overall, younger job seekers are carrying the highest burden, with unemployment rate for Americans aged 22, 27 jumping to 7.4%. And of the ones that are employed, they are what you would call underemployed. And yes, ending things like the H-1B program would be a good way to start. Independent analysts are starting to blame AI for a wave of job losses. Yeah, they're blaming it, and it is responsible for some of them, but for most of these losses, the AI is just an excuse. Yeah, the company saw that they had yet another excuse to do mass layoffs, so they're like, hey, pull up a list of the people we want to get rid of. Let's fix this. Rising joblessness among highly indoctrinated workers should further fuel AI-related job loss fears. There are plenty of companies that have launched a wave of low and middle-tier white-collar layoffs while simultaneously introducing internal AI tools. Amazon has been the most vocal, with its head of HR directly pointing her finger at AI as the company slashed 14,000 positions. I look forward to HR being replaced with AI. All of these executives, not just HR, not just the CEOs, these executives are easier to replace with AI than a lot of the grunt jobs they're trying to replace. So just wait until the shareholders get together and say, the biggest cuts we can make are at the top. Yeah, AI crash is going to be huge. Yeah, it might even happen this year. We might get an AI bubble pop for Christmas. If not for Christmas, it'll be shortly after. Some may ask why we're reducing roles and the company's performing well. What we need to remember is that the world is changing quickly. The generation of AI is the most transformative technology we've seen since the internet. It's enabling companies to innovate much faster than before. Plus, as anyone who understands even the tiniest amount of economics will tell you, there's two ways to make line go up. One is to increase profits. The other is to cut expenses. And employees are really fucking expensive. So part of the reason a lot of these companies are having their like record profits is because they're cutting a record number of expenses. So those two things actually can go together and often do. Apple cut workers on Monday. UPS has cut 34,000 jobs this year. Target slashed 1,800 from its corporate workers and or from its headcount in October. And Starbucks axed 900 late September. Those numbers aren't, other than UPS, those aren't really all that big. But we're going to be seeing way more. Verizon, ConocoPhillips, Intel, Microsoft, Walmart, General Motors, Ford, Pepsi, and Novo Nordisk have also contributed to a record number of layoffs. And let's not forget the entire game industry, although I guess Microsoft might count as part of that. And beneath the headline numbers, the job market is increasingly lopsided. Just two sectors, healthcare and hospitality, have generated more than 100% of U.S. job growth this year, adding a combined 690,000 positions. And a lot of them, too, have been part-time. Like that's another like dirty fucking trick that politicians like to do. Like they will plan some construction project or some event that'll hire a bunch of temporary workers. But once those seasonal jobs are done, well, the numbers are going up again. Better make sure that your opponent is in office when that happens. Strip those out, and the total employment is actually down by roughly 6,000 jobs in current year after 5 years, or after years of robust growth following the current year -5 pandemic. You realize that it's because of the pandemic that a lot of companies they were ballooning in size way faster than they should have, because like some industries saw like exponential growth during the pandemic. Like in video games, for example, when people were stuck at home, and they started adding on headcount, adding on projects as if that growth will continue forever. And then it plateaued. And now they're stuck with all this bloat.